Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Ram, Hare Hare. Everybody together. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, Hare Krishna. Is the volume good enough? There is some background kirtan going on in the temple hall where that noise is also coming here. You are able to hear my voice clearly? All of it?
Yeah, you are audible clearly.
Okay, thank you. Now you can see. Yes. This is a slide I left last time. Very important verse. Karmanyeva adhikaraste mahaphaleshu kadachana. So, very interesting verse it is. Very interesting verse. If this verse is well understood and applied in our life, we can save ourselves from a lot of hassles also. At the same time, we can also make a lot of forward progress in Krishna consciousness. See, 4 boxes I am going to show you. The first box I am showing on the left top corner now. It talks about Karmanyeva adhikaraste. What type of work we should do? Here it is said, work must be done not for material results, but also for spiritual results. And how do you do the work? In the beginning, it's given activities based on one's acquired modes of nature. About this, I have elaborately spoken before. Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. As per your nature, you do your work and don't do it only for material results, but also for spiritual results. And purpose of action should be purification and knowledge. Like I was telling you, a Brahman is a teacher. He teaches for purification of heart and glorification of Lord. He has no other motivation in his teaching. Money making is not his goal. Becoming popular is not his goal. His goal is to see that people gain this knowledge and he becomes purified by acting on behalf of God. So in this way, a person becomes responsible. Karmanyeva adhikaraste. Everybody should become responsible in life and not be lethargic or not do unrestrained action. Then they can experience internal transformation. So I want to say a few words about this. how work must be done not only for material results, but also for spiritual results also. Now, generally, you ask any boy going to college, why do you study? He will say that, I need a job. Why do you need a job? He'll say, I want to make money. Now, why do you need money? He will say, for filling up my belly. After that, I want some money for entertainment. And I also want some money to give to parents. And that's the goal of life for most boys. So here is an example of how one is working only for material results, nothing spiritual. Yeah. And now, if you see how we can do the same work in a spiritual way, like you can see Krishna and Arjuna. Arjuna is actually fighting the battle, not just as a Kshatriya, but as a Krishna's devotee. Krishna wishes to establish dharma. So Arjuna agrees to fight the battle for Krishna's pleasure. Similarly, if somebody is fighting for the nation, for example, if the leaders of the nation are walking the path of dharma and he is assisting them. For example, in India, India is a country where it is covered by peninsula. Three sides are covered with ocean. And one side has a very big mountain, also Mount Everest also. Nevertheless, there has been invasion in India and different types of invasions. So now, what is the goal of the soldiers in stopping the invasion? Because if people invade the country, one of the reasons for their invasion is to loot the country. Another purpose of the invasion is to tax the people very heavily, charging them 30% tax, 35% tax. And then in this way, they may want to exploit the people. Another purpose of invasion is to make them slaves, make the country's people slaves, and then make the people work for their own interest. Yeah. And in the same manner, they may also come and invade a country to follow their own fanatical idea of what everybody must do, without giving them open-minded choice, rather than have their own foolish set of religious or formularies and rituals. And either you abide by this or you'll be killed or whatever. That kind of rigid so-called religious formularies, without letting the people think and make a choice for themselves. So these are some of the reasons why one country invades over another country. Actually, God has given everybody a place to live, food to eat. And they can befriend all living beings and live peacefully. But you see that living beings are not ready for that. Every country has experience of this, isn't it? Some country becomes aggressive and wants to exploit the country in the neighborhood for various purposes, like I mentioned to you. So in this way, these are principles which go against religious principles. That means not only one may do one's material work for one's satisfaction, one may also exploit the other living beings. So if one is doing one's material work as a Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, at the same time, one also abides by the laws of God, dharma, then that person will get purified in the heart. Some of the laws of God we have discussed in all these previous classes. One of the laws of God is that don't encroach on others' property. Don't misbehave with another man's wife. Treat her as a mother. Treat others' property as theirs, not encroach on others' property. Isn't it? Similarly, learn the teachings of God and then live by them. Take your quota and be peaceful. Don't encroach on others' quota. And also learn about God more and find out ways and means to connect with Him. There's Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, Bhakti Yoga. There are various ways to connect with the Lord. Even if one is a total ignoramus, if you read the wisdom literatures, you will get some understanding. Gradually, he will grow in that understanding. And then one will start working in alignment with God. So acceptance of God, alignment with God, and acting for the pleasure of God. These are the sequence of steps. First, you accept that certainly there is some great personality, great supreme, who is ruling the universe, without whose glance and grace, we won't be able to enjoy the things we are getting in this world. The source of everything. We begin with that. And then alignment with God is by studying the wisdom literatures, scriptures. Then you align with His will. Then act for His pleasure by doing yajna or sacrifices. Yeah. In this way, very simple it is. It's not a very difficult thing for any man to understand this. Everybody has to do some profession in this world according to your psychophysical nature, and you earn your livelihood. But earning livelihood alone is not the goal of life. Because if we are earning our bread and butter and we die one day, then how are we different from the animals? How are we different from the birds? Birds just eat their food, reproduce children, and they fight things like that, isn't it? So that's the first step is be responsible in human form of life. Become responsible. That's the first thing. Karmaneva adhikaraste. Yes, you have the right to act, but you should act in a responsible way. Don't act in an irresponsible way. For example, if one wants to get married, he has sons and daughters. He cannot give up the sons and daughters and go to a liquor shop and become a drunkard, lying there. Sometimes it happens in India. We have seen somebody becomes a drunkard. His wife has to come and pick him up from the shop, put him in a car and take him home. He's an example of a irresponsible fool. He is not the breadwinner of the family. He is just taking the wife's money and using it. Nor is he responsible for his sons and daughters. So the scriptures first say, first become responsible. Okay, after you become responsible, then one can not only become materially responsible, then one can become spiritually responsible. First, we should be materially responsible to some degree. And then one will be able to become spiritually responsible also. In this way, in Gita, Krishna gradually takes us to higher and higher understanding. Yeah. Here, Jacob is saying, laws of God are truly so simple, yet constantly misunderstood. This is ego that causes that misunderstanding almost always. Good point. Yeah, many people know what is right, but they don't want to do the right because they get carried away by the current of waves of sense gratification, enjoyment. Or some people are lazy, lethargic. Or some people are very busy, preoccupied, doing the wrong thing, very busily. So therefore, in this verse, like Krishna clearly says here, he says, work must be done, not just for material results, but also for spiritual results. Then you become responsible. Because the spiritual work, when you do, the purpose of action should be purification and to gain wisdom, knowledge. Like you all are coming for these classes now. So when we take out some time for this type of classes, somebody else may be going for watching a movie instead of coming to this class, because they do not know the value of human form of life often. They think life is just meant for sense enjoyment. That's all. But such sense enjoyment eventually will lead us to sinful life. And the sinful life brings us suffering. And many people cannot see through the things in this world and then see that eventually suffering is going to come. They can't see. For example, somebody is suffering from obesity. They know junk food is causing them problem. But when junk food comes in front of their eyes, they cannot say no to that. They are just dragged by the habit. What can I do? Similarly, lethargic people, they will not take initiative. Even though there's an opportunity they can do, but they won't do it. Later on, they may lament or whatever. So, materially also, many people are not responsible for their lives. Even if you want to materially be happy also, you have to be spiritual. Because the spiritual knowledge helps you to also have a peaceful material life and a progressive spiritual life. So for a peaceful material life and a progressive spiritual life, one needs some amount of wisdom about the meaning of life, purpose of life, goal of life. Yeah. So, yes, we may find it hard to control the senses and mind, but we are chanting Hare Krishna, We are also reading the scriptures. You first of all know what is right, what is wrong. You know it. And then even after knowing right and wrong, still we may be succumbing to the lower nature. And then that will be modified as we advance in chanting more number of rounds, purifying the mind. One is by chanting Hare Krishna and reading Prabhupada's books. And then we also can stay with the company of devotees. You should, every one of you joining these classes, my humble request to you is to find out the nearest place where you can connect with some devotees. Stay in the company of devotees. Then it will be very easy for us to practice, because you will see that, practice makes a man perfect by repeated practice, but the practice becomes easy when you do it in the company of others. Many are chanting, you are not the only one chanting. Many are attending morning programs. Many are reading Prabhupada's books, and they are taking prasadam together. So we have centers like that in USA. We have a plan to start Bhaktivedanta Youth Services, we call it, BYS. So we have such a center in Boston. We have such a center in Brooklyn. We have, now there is one starting in Dallas also. We have one in San Jose also. So we want to start in every prominent city of US like that eventually. So that then the devotees like you all can come there and then be in the company of one another. Birds of the same feather flock together, we say. Imagine if all of you were in one building together, how nice it would be. Right now you all belong to different parts of the country. But when you stay with each other, it becomes very easy. So Sunit is saying this is the hardest battle to win in Kali Yuga. Yeah, it may be hard, but it is not impossible. God doesn't test us beyond our ability. One thing I would say, the secret is, gain control over the mind by chanting Hare Krishna and reading proper books regularly, taking prasad. These things are more easy to do. Just like I'll ask you a simple question. You see, if there is a fan rotating, you want to stop it. You can put a stool and climb, big fan, ceiling fan. How difficult it would be, because our hand will get damaged or cut. On the contrary, you switch off the fan or regulate the fan. That's more easy. Similarly, mind is very difficult to control, like the fan is rotating, mind is difficult to control. But the senses are more easy to control by regulating them. Regulating our eating habit, regulating our sleeping habit, regulating our recreation habits, regulating and deciding what we should do, what we should not do. Krishna says, Tasmatvam Indriyani Ado. He says, begin with senses. Now in the second chapter and third chapter, we will learn more about it as we proceed. Yeah, conditionings we call it. They are there now, but they can be conquered over a period of time by sticking to the path of devotional service. So we should be responsible. That's the first point he says. Karmanyavadhikara. Do responsible work, which means work must be done not only for material results, but also for spiritual results. The spiritual result is purification and knowledge. Okay, let's go to the second one. See the second one. Just 1 minute. You can see here, you are not entitled to the fruits of action. He says, Mahaphaleshu kadachana. Do not be attached to the results. Detachment it doesn't mean that we don't care about or concerned about the results, but we give our 100% endeavor towards the action. The reason I told you earlier, because action is in your hands, results are not in your hands. We sow the seed, God gives the rain. We give the interview, panel chooses us. So your role is only 50% of the role. Focus the full attention on that. Attachment to result creates lots of insecurity and anxiety. And if we do not get results, it leads to frustration and anger. And that spoils the quality of our work also. 50% is in your hands, but if you are going to too much be attached to the results and worry about the result, instead of putting that 50% effort, you will be able to put only 10% effort, because a lot of energy goes in anxiety. It's called as worry time. Instead of work time becomes worry time. People worry about the past and people fear about the future. So we lose time, we lose in fear time and worry time. That's a wasteful time. So therefore, one has to cut off the second part. What is the second part? The results. Don't bother about the results. Only focus on how we do the work. And be concerned about the results. Be careful in producing good results, but know very well that that's not in your hands, it's in God's hands. So here you will see below, primary motive of action in Karma Yoga is purification. In Bhakti Yoga, it is to please Krishna. So Bhakti Yoga is even more advanced than Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga means, okay, I do my work as Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. I do it as my duty without awaken. Whereas in Bhakti Yoga, you do it for the will of the Lord, to please the Lord. You know that motivation. Purification is automatic, there also, Bhakti Yoga also. But beyond purification, you are doing it for the will of the Lord. Because that's a more special platform. Let us give an example for this. Say, like when you go to company, you do your job dutifully. Dutifully means you fulfill your commitments, what you have promised. What you have promised, just 1 minute, I'll just I will switch off this. So, what was the last point I was making? I was telling you that you may do things dutifully, but that is different from doing with love. It's not the same. For example, when you are doing work in the office, you do it out of a sense of duty. I am taking salary, and this time to this time I'm supposed to go to office. I have to deliver the goods, otherwise my boss will be upset. So I will do my duty perfectly. It's also good. Whereas when you're at home, even without your near and dear one, say mother or father or brother or sister, without them asking something, voluntarily you go to the market and purchase something, and you want to give them a pleasant surprise. You go and give them and say, I brought this for you. And you want to make them happy. You are actively pursuing something for their pleasure. That is very special. So here, Arjuna is a warrior. He can actually fight the battle and offer the results to God as a sense of duty. But he doesn't want to. Krishna tells him, you don't fight as a warrior for me. You fight as my devotee. Because if you fight as a warrior, you will do your duty and offer the results to me. But if you fight as my bhakta or a devotee, and then you will do it out of love for me. That is Bhakti Yoga. Is that point clear? The difference between the two? Bhakti Yoga and Karma Yoga, that is mentioned here. In Karma Yoga, the goal is to purify the heart. I want to purify my heart, so I offer my fruits to God. And I can develop detachment from that fruits. Whereas Bhakti Yoga, I simply want to please Him. Whatever God may want to give me, He may give me, but I'm not concerned about it. I simply want to see the object of my love pleased, which is Krishna, he's saying. So in this way, you are concerned about the result, but you focus on 100% endeavor, he says. So here, this is talking about detachment. So detachment, how it comes, I want to say a few words. Detachment comes from moving our mindset from doership to divine. Doership to divine means, one should think that, I can switch on a light, switch on a bulb, light will be on. When I switch off the bulb, light will be off. That doesn't mean I am the ultimate controller. If a government shuts down the power, my switching on and off is of no consequence. Similarly, we should know that we may make a plan, like we say, man proposes, God disposes. Ultimately, God is in control. He is controlling the sun, He's controlling the moon, He's controlling the universe, He's controlling the movement of all living beings. He has complete stock of my current controller. I am a very tiny, minute controller, and I can do my part, and then God will decide His part. So those who think like that, they can be very detached. And those who don't think like this, they live a life always with expectation. I did this and I'm not getting this. Why God has done this to me? They become very angry. Yeah. They don't, because they want to control the results. I gave interview so well. How can the panel not choose me? Why did they choose someone else? Yeah. They become very angry. Or I gave the exam so well. Why I didn't get marks? Yeah. Then later on you will find I went wrong somewhere. We have sometimes a very high overestimation of ourselves, and we have too much expectation, and that expectation causes frustration. Therefore, here he says, have firm faith that God knows best. God knows best. So, I'll show you a quick short movie. This will help us to develop. I don't know whether I showed you this before. You can see this.
Trust God. Once upon a time, in a temple of Lord Krishna, there was a sweeper who was very sincere and devoted. Every time he saw thousands of devotees coming to take darshan of the Lord, he thought to himself,
"The Lord is standing all the time giving darshan. He must be feeling very tired. O Lord, your feet must be aching. I want to help you. At least for one day can I take your place so that you can have some rest?"
Thank you, my dear. It is very nice of you, and I don't mind taking a break. But how will you take my place?
It's simple. You change me to look like you and change yourself to look like me.
Okay. I'll transform you like myself. But there is one condition. You must just stand here like me, smile at everyone and give blessings. Never interfere with anything and do not say anything. Just watch everything and be a witness.
The sweeper agreed to this and exchanged places with his Lord. The next day, a rich man came to pray.
"O Lord, please bless me. My business should go on well."
While leaving the temple, the rich man forgot to take his briefcase, which was full of money. Just then, a poor man came into the temple.
"O Lord, please accept this coin, as this is all I can afford. Bless me to be engaged in your service always. My family is hungry and my heart is leaking. I need some help from you."
When he opened his eyes, he saw the briefcase left behind by the rich man. The poor man thanked the Lord for his kindness and generosity and took the briefcase. At that point, a sailor walked in.
"O Lord, I'm going on a long trip. Please bless me so that I have a safe journey."
Just then, the rich man came in with the police.
"There, he's the thief who stole my briefcase full of money."
Hey, did you think you could run away after robbing this gentleman? Come on, tell me where's the money?
I did not steal anything, sir. I don't have any money with me.
Then you must have given it to your friend who must have run away by now. Come with us to the police station.
Dear Lord, you know I am innocent. Why am I being punished then?
Thank you, Krishna. You are the one who helped us catch this thief.
The sweeper in the form of the deity could no longer tolerate the situation. He had to speak up now to save the sailor.
Stop! You're making a mistake. It was not this sailor who took the money. It was a poor man who came here before him.
Who is that speaking?
Here, I am God speaking.
This person is not only a thief but also a clever cheat. He is tricking us into thinking that the idol is speaking. Arrest him, quick!
The sailor was arrested and taken away. The sweeper felt very sad. In the evening, Krishna returned to the temple.
My dear, how was the day?
I thought it would be easy, Krishna, but it was difficult. I tried to do a good thing, but man does not seem to have actual faith in God at all.
The sweeper then told Krishna about the happenings of the day and how a sailor had been unfairly punished for the crime of the poor man.
Oh dear, why did you not stick to the plan? Don't you have faith in me? Do you think that I do not understand the hearts of all those who come here? The rich man had money which he had got by cheating someone. It does not belong to him. On the other hand, the single coin offered by the poor man was the only coin he had, but he gave it to me with full faith. The sailor might not have done anything wrong, but if he had gone in the ship today, he would have died because of bad weather. Instead, he is alive and safe now in the jail. Soon the police will apologize to him and release him.
I did not know all this.
I have a good plan for everyone's life. But because your faith in me is shaky, you try to do things on your own. Don't do that. Just trust me.
For everything that we see around us, God has a plan. We need to trust His wisdom and accept His will.
Any of you? Nice. It was nice, interesting.
It was perfect and wonderful.
Yeah. So, what was the highlight lesson we learned from this, and how is it connected to the topic in hand? Can anybody say a few words about it, please?
God has best plans for us. It may be possible that we are illusioned by the surroundings around us, and we may think that, oh, means if our wish is not fulfilled, then we think that, oh, our prayers are not answered. But our prayers are answered in the best possible way that God can answer it, not the way we want it.
Okay, very good. That's very nice. Yeah. Yeah. And also, what Jacob has mentioned, that God works in mysterious ways and we do not know what he intends. Yeah. One thing is, if we trust his words, and if we trust his teachings, and if we trust, that ultimately what he is trying to do is good for me. For example, I try to think about a mother doing embroidery. Like one mother was doing embroidery on a cloth, and she was making a very beautiful natural scenery. But the child was sitting on the ground and watching the mother sitting in the chair. So the child was telling mother, "Mother, I am seeing all colorful threads. All are shabby looking. They are very clumsy. Why is that?" Mother said, "You are seeing from your side. Come to my side and see." So she called the child to stand, get up and watch this embroidery on the other side. And the child then saw a very beautiful embroidery picture. Similarly, when we see the present isolated from the past and future, then we get confused. Why God does this, or why God did that? But God can see past, present, future, everything together. Full package you can see. So God is never confused. And we should trust his activities and intentions. That's the point. So now, how is this connected to this point? Can anybody say? We had Sunit answer, and then we had Jacob spoke. Somebody else would like to explain, please? Anybody? Anybody? Anybody else? What you got from this little video?
Always trust God's plan.
Ah, so Krishna Chaitanya, you said a little louder, please. Your volume was a bit low. Did you say we should trust?
Yeah, always trust God's plan.
Yeah, always trust His plan. And then you can be detached. That's the second point in this shloka is teaching about detachment, isn't it? See here, in the right side, right top, if you see, that teaches about detachment, isn't it? See here, you are not into the fruits of action. Do not be attached to the detachment. Attachment to results creates a lot of insecurity, but the results are not in our hands. It's in God's hands. So leave it to Him. He is the best personality. And He knows what I deserve, what I don't deserve. And sometimes getting the things what I want always may not be good for me. Sometimes it may be bad for me. So He knows what is best. So Krishna judges us. And another interesting thing is mentioned here below. Krishna judges us only by our efforts, while people judge us by the results. That's an interesting point. So we will see that more later. And the third point is, never be attached to not doing your duty. When inactive, we are not engaging our abilities given to us. It is action or activity or service that purifies us. We cannot artificially think of Krishna constantly. We think of Krishna by rendering service. So purification of heart happens by engaging body, mind, and words and our actions in service of Krishna, not by inaction. So like you see this fellow is lying down, he's inactive. Then the purification won't take place. And what is purification? I told you before. Purifying the controlling tendency, proprietor tendency, enjoying tendency. Yeah. But when you take shelter of Krishna, these three things get purified. Even when things don't work the way we anticipated, it makes us realize that I'm not the controller, I'm not the proprietor, I'm not the enjoyer. Everything belongs to God. He is supreme controller. In this way, one gives up lethargy and one does work. By service or action, we express our love to God. You see? In this way, we give up laziness. So in the first one, bold letters I have put responsible. In the second one, we heard about detachment. And the third one is giving up lethargy. Even though the results are in God's hands, I should do my part. And then leave it to God. I have done my part. I will do it very well. And I will not be lazy to do the service. And the fourth one, never consider yourself the cause of the results of your activities. Never become proud. Like he says, I am the greatest man in the world. Don't think like that. Do not think you are the only cause of the result. There are many others who are helping you achieve the results. To the extent we think we are the cause, we become very proud and we become bound by the reactions also. And then and that pride also causes damage to ourselves and others. That increases bodily identification, you see. We start thinking, I am this body, I am this, I am that. So that is how the proud people eventually get degraded in their consciousness. Like I remember I heard one story in the school days. There was one cock who was very proud of his sound which he would make in the morning. Cock-a-doodle-doo, he would make a sound in the morning. So one fox came at 11 o'clock or so, and the cock was sitting on the top of a hut. And the fox said, "Oh dear cock, you were singing in the early morning hours, wakes up all the people in the village, and everybody salutes you because you only wake up everyone in the morning." Hearing that, the cock became very pleased. He came 2 steps below in the hut, the top of the hut. And he said, "Really? You like my voice?" He said, "Yes, very much." And then the fox said, "Although I am also one who benefits from your sound, but today I slept off till 8 o'clock. Therefore, I got up late and I really miss your beautiful singing very much," he said. Because in the entire village, there is no one who can sing like you. Then the cock came even 2 more steps below. And then he started coming closer and closer to fox. And the fox said, "If you don't mind, if you can sing me once, what you do in the early morning. I will be very grateful, he said. Then the cock closed his eyes, standing right next to the fox. Like that, he made a sound. Cock-a-doodle, he made a sound. Immediately, the fox captured his neck and ran into the forest. So what do you learn from this story? Was it easy to understand the story? Anybody?
We should not take over pride in.
Sunit, you have answered many questions. I want to hear from Jacob and Sunit are the participants who have answered the most questions. I want others also to make sure that they are all with us also. Anyone else? Anybody? What you learned from this little story I told you? Yeah?
Don't be attached to the results.
Okay, don't be attached to the results. But in the story of the cock, which is croaking, what was wrong with him? You know, the fox was praising him, and the cock came 2 steps down, and then finally, on the request of the fox, he sang for his pleasure. What did he do wrong? Anybody?
He was too proud, so he kept coming down to him.
Ah, he was too proud. Huh? When one becomes too proud of oneself, one offends others, one becomes arrogant, one becomes aggressive, one has overestimation of oneself. Huh? So Gita Lord Krishna teaches us, we should not be proud. Why? Think about it. The eyes we possess, nose we have, ears, mouth, and the hands and legs. We didn't create them. God gifted us these things. The brain we possess in the head, we didn't create it. God gave me the brain. And the substances that I process in this world, that things, 120 elements in Mendeleev's periodic table, like iron, sulfur, manganese, and all these things, using which we make the factories. Factories, and that is gifted by God also. So God has created everything and given me. Why take a pride in myself? Why should I be so boastful? Like that we can think. So sincere and serious practicing devotee understands this. It's not proud. So 4 things are taught to us. Be responsible, and be detached, and never be lazy, and never be proud. So like this, Lord Krishna teaches very interesting and important verse. Now we will proceed fast now. If somebody, here you see below, right bottom, if somebody is attached to results, then they become responsible for the cause of action. And then they become enjoyer or sufferer for the results of their action. And that causes bondage. For example, somebody is a soldier, he shoots his neighbor with the same gun, which he is supposed to use for the army. Then he becomes responsible for shooting. Then he suffers in the jail. He may say, I am a soldier, I am used to shooting. So, warriors in the battle, he may say, no. No, sir. You have to go to jail. Why? Because you are shooting on your own account now, not on the country's account. Therefore, he is subjected to bondage. On the other hand, you find here, on the left side, work is categorized into 3 types of work: inaction, capricious work, vikarma, and prescribed duties. So one should not be inactive, lazy. And Krishna says, give up the lethargy. Get up, do some work, he says. And one should not do capricious work, which means sinful work, which is not sanctioned by the Lord and the scriptures. One should not do such capricious, sinful work. That means, don't be lazy also. Act, but don't act sinfully. But one should act according to prescribed duties. That is right karma. Actions based on one's mode and acquired in the birth. That's the correct type of action. And then, if you perform the duties, that's called, and then you are not attached to the results. Then you become purified and get knowledge also. Knowledge and purification of heart that leads to the path of liberation. You understand this? But most people perform the duty, but they become attached to results. When they become attached, then you go to the right bottom corner. Attached result, responsible for cause of action, they become enjoyer, sufferer, and the cycle goes on and on. Therefore, Lord Krishna teaches, don't be attached to the results. Results are in my hands, I will give you. You do your part, focus on your part, he says. So, karma kanda to karma yoga. For example, work somebody is doing attached to fruits of work, result is birth and death cycle. But when work becomes karma yoga, when one is detached from the fruits, then it becomes karma yoga. Detachment comes from knowledge. Here is the bhakti yoga is even more one step ahead. Not only you are detached from the results, but you are taking the results and offering it to Krishna with love and devotion. For example, let me give you an example. Say you are walking in the road, you got a wallet. If you take the wallet and see that there are thousands of dollars inside, you enjoyed with that money by flying to different places and entertaining yourself. Then the police catches you that you looted someone's money, then we suffer in the jail. They're put behind the bars for looting someone else's money. That is an attached person, one who is attached to enjoying the wallet. Now somebody may say, oh, the wallet money doesn't belong to me. So he is detached completely. Like here it is shown here. He picks up the wallet and then he gives up the wallet because he knows that it doesn't belong to me. So by becoming detached, he will not be punished also. He is liberated from the punishment because he saw the wallet but he didn't exploit it. And here you find Bhakti Yoga means you take the wallet and then find out, whom does the wallet belong to? And go to the owner of the wallet and tell him, sir, I found it on the road. Probably you by mistake dropped it. And I saw you sitting in the car, so I come to give you. That fellow will be very grateful to you. He's going to appreciate you or give you a prize or something like that. That is Bhakti Yoga is like that. You know the owner of the whole universe is Krishna. Then you offer everything to him with devotion and love. These are the three things that are shown here. See here, the acharyas are saying, just 1 minute. Since the results of all actions are attained simply by worshipping the Supreme Lord, what is the use of any other action other than devotion to Him? So perform actions, but don't be after the results. Results are the cause of bondage. Like somebody may say, that means do you mean to say just be a devotee of Krishna and do the devotional work only? Like for example, there are various devotional activities like, hearing, Shravanam, Kirtanam, hearing about the Lord, and glorifying the Lord, remembering the Lord, going to the holy places of the Lord's activities, and also becoming servant of the Lord, becoming friend of the Lord, surrendering one's life to the Lord. Like that, there are many activities out there. So somebody may ask, if I love the Lord, then what is the need for me to do the worldly work and all? What is the you ultimately say that Bhakti Yoga means you have to love the Lord and go after Him and attain Him. The reason why we have to work in this world is, Lord Krishna says in Gita that everybody cannot give up their work and only chase after the Lord to go back home, back to God. That's not possible for everybody because we all have some desires also in this world. Everybody cannot become a monk. Everybody cannot give up activities. So what Lord Krishna says, okay, you want to be with mother and father, wife and children. Okay, do the work and you offer the fruits to Lord. Accept, like I have told you earlier, sanctioned, sanctified, regulated. Follow this, sanctioned, sanctified, regulated lifestyle. Then that way we will become gradually liberated, he says. See, perform your duty, equipoised, abandoning all attachment to success and failure. That's what he says in 48th verse. Yogastha kuru karmani sangam tyakpa dhananjaya siddhya siddhyo samo bhutva samatvam yoga uchyate. He's saying sometimes you will get perfect results, sometimes not. But don't become depressed, don't become stressed, don't become sorrowful. You have done your part well. Be happy with that, he says. So that's the meaning of real yoga. Perform your duty in an equipoised manner without attachment to success or failure. And concentrate the mind on the Supreme Lord by controlling the senses, disturbed senses. And then Krishna consciousness is the real yoga because it involves, you're following Krishna's teaching, giving up proprietorship, controllership, enjoyership, all these things. You see. So the goal of all work is to please the Lord. Action yoga means concentrate mind on the Supreme by controlling the senses and then follow Krishna's instruction and do the work without considering loss or gain. This is real yoga. You see here? That means we have to control our senses and mind and focus it on the Supreme, hear his instruction, and do the activities with detachment. And that is real yoga, he's saying to Arjuna. And then he says, keep all abominable activities far distant by devotion service. I'll tell you what it is. In that consciousness, surrender unto Lord. Those who want to enjoy the fruits of their work are misers, he says. Durena hyavaram karma buddhi yoga dhananjaya buddhau sharanaman vichha kripana phalahetavaha. See, durena means far away. Avaran karma means abominable actions. I'll explain what it is. And buddhi yoga dhananjaya. Use your good spiritual intelligence. And O Dhananjaya Arjuna, Buddha Sharanam Vichha Kripana Phala Etava. The human form of life is actually meant for spiritual perfection. But those who are called Kripanaha, last line says Kripanaha, means miserly people, they are Phala Hetavaha. They are attached to the fruits of their actions. For example, you find a person in this world, Kripana Phala Hetava. Prabhupada says Kripana and Brahmana. He says the difference. The Kripana person thinks only short-term happiness. Brahmana person thinks about long-term happiness, long-term consequences. He thinks about that. The Kripana thinks about eat, drink, and be merry. I have done hard work, I will enjoy the fruits. Whereas Brahmana is one who understands whatever work I have done is by God's grace and God's facilities and amenities that He has given me based on which I am doing. I'll offer the fruits to Him, purify my heart, attain knowledge, and go back to Him. So he thinks long-range results he is thinking. Just like we can give a simple example for this. If I show you a $1,000 note and I show you a chocolate, what do you think the children will choose? $1,000 note or a chocolate? Yes, anybody?
Chocolate.
Yeah. And all of you, what would you choose? Would you choose a chocolate or a $1,000 note? Any of you?
$1,000 note.
$1,000 note.
Yeah, is it not true? Why? Because instead of $1,000 note, there are 1,000 chocolates. And you may not be able to immediately eat it, but in the long run, you will get it. So, in the same manner, that's why short-lived enjoyment they get. There are physical enjoyments, physical pleasures. They are the shortest. Like if you eat one sweet, it goes below the throat, it is finished. Only a few minutes it lasts. And mental pleasures last for a little more. And intellectual pleasures may last, like for example, solving a mathematical problem or making a smart move in the chess may give you longer happiness, maybe for a few months or years. But some other champion may come and take over and the happiness is finished. But if you see, the spiritual happiness is long, not only long-lasting, it's everlasting it is. Yeah, that is why he's saying that Kripanas are short-lived, they go for short-lived pleasure. But those who are devotees, they keep away short-lived activities. And they are not attracted by them. They use their spiritual intelligence. See here the definition Prabhupada gives for a miser or a Kripana. Please read that, one of you.
Definition of miser: they do not know how to engage their assets acquired by good fortune and hard labor. Example, human energy should be used for Krishna consciousness, but misers want to enjoy fruitive work.
Yeah. Can someone else also read, please? Second one.
What does
I can read. Okay.
activities refer to? Fruitive acts, all acts which bind to birth and death, all actions except Krishna consciousness, because they continuously bind us to the cycle of birth and death.
Yeah. So I told you 3 types of activities. One is called as capricious activity, which is sinful activity. Another one I told you, the karma, vikarma. Akarma means inactivity, laziness. So I have a question to all of you. Sinful activity should not be done. But what is the problem with being inactive? If somebody is inactive, why should that person be considered to be doing abominable activity? Anybody? What's wrong with that? If somebody is just inactive, he may say, I'm not doing any sinful activity at all. I'm just inactive. I just lie in the sofa, that's all. Okay, Jacob says energy stagnates, okay?
Because he's not doing his karma, right? Like by not
He's
performing
not
his
doing
duty.
karma. Yes, he's
Yeah,
not doing his duty. That's true. He's not doing his duty. Actually, if somebody is lazy, then he has to depend on someone else for his food, clothing, and shelter. Correct, no? He doesn't do any work. He's lethargic. Imagine one of the boys, he always borrows money from his friends, and he eats, sleeps, and enjoys life without working, standing on his own leg. Correct, no? So then he becomes punishable by the laws of nature. He's called as a parasite. Correct, no? He's called as a parasite because he doesn't do, even sadhus, if they are simply collecting money, just filling up their belly, having a big belly and going to sleep, they are also considered as parasite. So even the sadhus have to do their work. For example, I'm giving this class now, and I have five, 6 classes like this in different parts of the day. And we also, we cook for the Lord, we bring grocery for the Lord. We also make PPTs. We also study the books. We also do arati for the Lord. So many activities. Even sadhus have to do work. What to speak of those who are not monks? They have many other activities. So one cannot, if one is lazy, then one is going to tax somebody else's money, or one is going to tax somebody else's time, energy. That is how one becomes sinful, by lethargy. Because by nature, we all are active, and nobody can be inactive. And when a person becomes active in a sinful direction, then he also earns sinful reactions. So therefore, one should not do vikarma or akarma. One should do, karma. And karma means which is in line with the scriptures. That's what one should do. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, that's what he's saying. Abominable activity means fruitive activities in the wrong, sinful direction. Somebody is doing. And all acts, because you're not offering to God. And then all actions except Krishna consciousness. Yeah. What is the right course of action for living entities? Buddhi yoga, transcendent loving service to the Lord. Yeah, that's correct. A man engaged in devotion service rids himself of both good and bad reactions, even in this life. Therefore, strive for. Now, we may say that, bad reactions we have to get rid of, but why should we get rid of good reactions also? Somebody may have a question. That is explained here. I will give an example. I'll show you. Buddhi yukto jahatiha ubhe sukrita dushkrite tasmat yogaya yujyasva yoga karma kaushalam. Here example given. The top picture you see, there was one king whose name was Durga. The top right picture you see, top right, extreme right, in the top. So this this king gave 1,000 cows to one Brahman. And then that Brahman was about to leave. Another Brahman came. He gave him also another 1,000 cows he gave him. But then the one cow from the first Brahman came out and entered into the second group with other Brahman's cows. So the first Brahman came running to the king and said, "Oh king, you have given away my cow to another Brahman, please give me back." So then the king took that cow and gave it back to the first Brahman. The second Brahman said, "How is it that you gave me some charity and you're taking it back? Charity once given shouldn't be touched again, taken back," he said. So then the king told, "Sorry, I'm sorry. Don't worry. It was from his group, it came. I'll give you another 1,000 cows. Is it all right?" But the Brahmana said, "No, I want that cow only," he said. First Brahman said, "I want the same cow only." So they both had a little tussle. So they both became displeased with the king. And in the next life, he became a lizard. You see, in a well in Dwarka. At the time, the Krishna's friend saw him, went and told Krishna. When Krishna touched that lizard, immediately the lizard gave up the lizard's body and then showed the form of Durga king. And the king said, "My dear Lord, by mistake I earned the displeasure of 2 Brahmins, due to which I became a lizard now. But your transcendental touch has brought me back to the beautiful form. Thank you so much." Like that he said. So now how could he get this form again? Because Durga king did one good thing. some donation in that life when he was giving charity. So something good also he did, especially spiritual he had done. So therefore he was born in Dwarka. He was a lizard, but the lizard was born in Dwarka. So then by Krishna's touch, he became freed from the lizard's body and he attained that beautiful celestial body he attained. The point is, his intention was to do good to the people, but it was not in alignment with the Lord. In this world, if you do good, you again and again get good bodies. If you do bad, you get again and again bad bodies. But if you are acting for Lord's pleasure, you don't get good body or bad body. You go back home, back to Godhead. Because even if you get a handsome body in the next life, that body also will get old. That will get diseases. That will die, isn't it? So why to get a good body in this world? We should get out of this world and go back to Godhead. That is what is Lord. Is that point clear to everybody? That's what the Lord is saying. So,
Yes.
yeah. Here also there was another fellow, charitable Karna, it is shown here. Karna was very charitable. One time Indra came and asked for Karna Kundal. Karna gave him. So Karna is famous for his charity. But then at last he sided with Duryodhana, who was a very sinful person. And because of which he was destroyed in the battle. That means even if you do good in this world, good and bad mixture happens always. And here is the right side, the right bottom corner, you see, this man did some good work, but he becomes proud of his good work, you see. I gave such a donation, I did this, I did that. So then the pride takes over. So Krishna says that don't do good work or bad work, do God's work, he says. By doing God's work, it is non-binding. It takes you back home, back to Godhead. That is Krishna's point. It's very easy to understand, like a cashier. He is receiving millions of dollars. He is also giving away millions of dollars, but he has nothing to lament because everything belongs to bank. It is not in his account. On the other hand, if the cashier looks here and there, no one is around, he takes $5,000 and puts in his own pocket, then he'll be thrown out of the job and he'll be put behind the bars because now he is making it on his own account. So this is a very interesting phenomenon. We can learn in this chapter. When you do spiritual work, it goes to God's account, and that way we will always be liberated. That's the point is making. So in the subsequent verses, you will find the same principle. 2.50, 51, 52, 53, 50, and 72, up to. See, freedom from good and bad reactions, he says, freedom from cycle of birth and death. Because when good and bad reactions are nullified, then you become free from cycle of birth and death. And you also become indifferent to the Vedic rituals which tell you how to go to heaven and finish your heavenly virtue and then come back to earth. You are not attracted to those rituals which make you keep rotating within this world. And then you realize the relationship with Krishna as eternal servitor, and then you go back to Godhead. These are the things mentioned in these verses. You see here. And Krishna says, by engaging in devotion service, many sages, they become free from the results of work in this world. And they go beyond cycle of birth and death. Here you see. Karma jambuddhi yukta hi phalam tyakva manishinaha janma bandhavi nirmukta padam gacchantanamayam. Here he says, karma jam buddhi yukta hi phalam tyaktva. Karma jam means by the dint of your work, some results accrue, and that phalam tyaktva. One offers that fruit to Supreme Lord Krishna by Buddhi Yoga. The offers. What is the result of that? Janma bandha muktaha means he becomes free from cycle of birth and death. Padam gacchantanamayam. He goes back home, back to Godhead, he says. Like now this bird is freed from the cage. Not only he's going to be freed from the cage, he will also find his nest where he can go and rest. Similarly, we will also become free from this material worlds and go to Brahma Jyoti. But beyond Brahma Jyoti, we will enter into spiritual world and meet the Lord face to face. That's a fourth line says that. Jnanis only get freedom from cycle of birth and death, but they remain in effulgence, Brahma Jyoti, suspended. Whereas bhaktas, padam gacchantanamayam, last line he says. We go back to Godhead, he says. Please read this below. There is a statement made. One of you, please. When your intelligence.
When your intelligence has passed out of the dense forest of delusion, you shall become indifferent to all that has been heard and all that is to be heard.
Yeah. That means, as picture shows, you know, there are pious acts, there are impious acts, there is a religiosity, sense gratification, economic development. These are all mentioned in the Vedic literatures very elaborately. See that the picture shown, sense gratification, a man and woman. If you do this kind of good work, you can go to heaven and enjoy with heavenly damsels. That's a promise. Similarly, religiosity. If you become religious, you know, then you can get what you want. You can ask that demigods to provide you many things. Economic development. Many people want to do religion to get some material fruits by increasing their money or in having a bountiful harvest and so many things like that. In this way, many people are rotating in this cycle of birth and death. But a person gives up all these Vedic formularies for rotating within this world. Yeah. Yada te moha kalilam buddhirvyatitarishyati tada gantasi nirvedam shrotavyasya shrotasya cha. That means this material world is like a dense dark forest. Don't be rotating within this world. So go beyond it. See, Vedas, they teach Karma Kanda section. That is like a dense forest delusion. Why? Because it produces fruity benefits. How to avoid material pains. And this ultimately leads to cycle of birth. Because most people think, if I have disease, I'll go to sun. If I want education, I go to Saraswati. If you want money, I go to Lakshmi. So they do fruitive activities and get fruity benefit, but they remain in the cycle of birth and death. But the Vedas say the actual purpose is Vedesha Sarver Ahameva Vedyo. Difference between body and soul you learn, purpose of life you learn, the progress towards liberation. That is the actual goal. The bottom one which is shown is the actual goal. Therefore, a devotee becomes indifferent to the Karma Kanda section and then he becomes focused on actual goal. As he says. Yeah. And therefore he says the flowery language of the Vedas is not attracted to them. Because Vedas chanting of the Vedic mantras are very good, but we are not eager to be stuck in that. Rather, here you see, our Srila Prabhupada is taking Diksha from his Guru, having attained divine consciousness. Shruti vipratipannate yada stasyati nischala samadhavachala buddhis tada yogam avapsyasi. Like that he says. So, this is a summary, concluding slide here. You can see that. See, if you follow the Vedas for Vedic rituals, they do Sandhya Vandan, they call it. Morning, afternoon, and evening. 3 times a day. They do prayers. They take early morning bath. They offer respects to forefathers and ancestors. All that they do. And then they do some yajnas. They get fruitive activities and go to heaven and all that. And below you see bottommost, when mind is no longer disturbed by those flowery language of Vedas, then one focuses on soul and super soul understanding. Then one attains samadhi. And in that he can worship either Brahman, Paramatma or Bhagavan. And in case they worship Bhagavan, they simply perform transcendental loving devotion service, understanding relationship between living entities and Lord Krishna. Then they transcend the range of Shabda Brahma, range of the Vedas and Upanishads, and they go back to Godhead. Like this very nice flowchart is given. So next class we will discuss about the Sthita Prajna, self-realized man, how he sits, how he speaks, and how he walks. Very interesting. Therefore, I took a little extra time today to conclude this session without leaving some slides. So, is it easy for you all to appreciate these points? Or
yes.
Yeah. If anything else is difficult,
yes,
you are always welcome to write to me. I have given my email even before. I can provide you again in case. Okay. I put it in the chat. This is my email. If you have any questions, you write a mail to me. I'll be happy to answer you. Jacob is appreciative of the class. He understands everything. He's catching up very well. Sunit also appreciates, and Alek also. I wanted a little bit hear from others. Of course, Ade Ogun is also in touch with other devotees. Others, you all found it easy? The subject matter? This Karmanya Adhikara verse. Jeet, you found it?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, Prabhu.
Thank you. So it's very interesting verse. He says, be responsible in performing your duty and be detached because God is ultimately all good. He knows. And then he says, don't be lazy. And the fourth one was, what was the fourth one he said? Don't be lazy and avoiding the duty. Don't be attached. So it's very practical implications it has in our life. Yeah. Okay. All of them have been able to grasp. Very nice. Actually, now we will be proceeding with sessions. The next one which is coming up, next class is going to be a very interesting class because you are going to become a self-observer of yourself and you'll become a self-manager also. How to observe yourself and manage your mind, senses, and your life that you will learn. Okay. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.